fellow romance readers, I'm Amy.
And I'm Sarah, and this is Post-Book Depression. You know that feeling you get when you finish a good book that you didn't want to end?
Have you finished a book and just weren't ready to move on from the story and its beloved characters? You find yourself needing just a little more? This multi-trope romance podcast gives you the opportunity to dig deeper with us into books we love as we discuss all the reasons we can't move on.
Feeling chatty? You can continue the conversation with us on Instagram at Post-Book Depression Podcast or on Facebook in our Post-Book Depression discussion group.
We would be so grateful if you would subscribe to our podcast and take a moment to leave a review.
Are you ready? Let's discuss.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Amy.
And I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be discussing Variation by Rebecca Yarros.
The first few minutes we're going to do a brief review of the story without any spoilers, then we are going to shift into a deeper book discussion that's going to include lots of spoilers, but don't worry, as always, we're going to let you know before we do shift into that deeper book discussion.
That's right, so Amy's going to give us a brief description of what Variation is all about.
A Coast Guard rescue swimmer holds secrets from the past when he unexpectedly falls back into the life of the forbidden world-famous ballerina's life from his childhood, whom he's loved for 11 years. This second chance romance has ballet, passion, and heart. Sarah, what did you think about Variation?
I loved this story. I don't think that I have ever read a story about a ballerina, so I love that aspect.
Same.
I love that we're covering this. It was very intriguing, and I was very eager to learn all the different things. I loved the Coast Guard aspect of it, too. I love a second chance romance. I was totally here for the story. What did you think?
I absolutely 100% agree with everything that you said. I absolutely love a book that has dance as the running theme throughout. And ballet, like you said, we haven't covered one, and I hadn't read anything with ballet. I love ballet.
I do too.
It's such an elegant dance and sport. I love it so much. And like you said, the Coast Guard aspects, so good.
I know. I went on a major ballet
deep dive.
Like my Instagram feed was like flooded. It was so amazing, incredible. I loved it.
All right, let's get into our ratings. Angst.
This was just a 1.5 for me.
Same.
It wasn't overly angsty, but there's definitely some angsty elements and just enough for Sarah.
Yeah, there's an underlying suspense component to this story that adds some angst, but not a whole lot. Yeah. All right, humor,
like 0.25.
I did like 0.5.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a ton.
Low.
Yeah, just a few little chuckling moments.
Yeah.
Spiciness.
3.
Okay, I did 2.5. I was curious where you were going to land on this.
Yeah, it was 3. There was a lot of tension. And then some.
and then some. Nicely put.
And then some.
And then a lot. All right, tears.
1.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, there's some emotional components to it, but it's not a sob story.
I agree.
Overall, this was a 4.25 for me. I love Rebecca Yarros. I think she's a solid author. The story was incredible. I really enjoyed this one.
I also did 4.25. Like I said, I loved the ballet and the dancing aspects of this. The suspense portion of this was a great addition to. This is a great read. I loved it. All right, that concludes a spoiler-free quick review of this story. Now we're going to shift into a deeper book discussion that's going to include lots of spoilers. So if you have not read this story yet, please stop, go check it out, and then come back and continue on the deeper discussion with us. We would love to connect with you on social media. You can find us on Instagram at Post-Book Depression Podcast, on Facebook in our Post-Book Depression discussion group, and you can also email us at postbookdepressionpodcast@gmail.com. At the beginning of this story, Hudson and his brother are out training out on the water, and they notice a little boat having some trouble. There's a storm that is getting ready to move in. They see a little boat in the water and 2 young girls that are needing rescue. Their boat is starting to sink. There's a storm coming in, and Hudson and his brother realize that these 2 young girls are in trouble. This is in the past, so Hudson and his brother are younger. And as they get closer, this is where we meet Allie and Eva, her sister. And one of my favorite things about this scene is we quickly learn that Allie is very focused on her family first and tells Hudson, even though her head is bleeding, that he should be saving Eva first.
Right.
And Hudson jumps in. Let's start our conversation with this scene.
Yeah, this scene is intense because, like you said, Hudson's just out there. He's kind of training. He's wanting to be in the Coast Guard when he gets older. I think at this point, he's like 17. Allie is 16 and Eva is 13. So they're young. Allie just wants to, she's kind of the big sister. She wants him to take Eva first, but he says no way. So it kind of comes down to, I guess they're just going to go together. So, of course, Hudson's brother is livid with him that he's even done this and that. Anyway, so they make it back to the boat, but as soon as they pull up, he is captivated by Allie, which I thought, what a unique situation to focus on how beautiful somebody is when they're about to drown.
Right? Hudson doesn't recognize or realize who Allie and Eva are, but Gavin, his brother, does right away. Allie is in a family of 4 girls, and they're high society, kind of off limits. They're very protected by their mother, who's very controlling. And Gavin has had some interaction with Lena, one of the older sisters in the group of 4. And so he knows right away who Allie and Eva are, even though Hudson does not.
Right.
And it kind of sets the groundwork for the forbiddenness of this family in the story moving forward. But we learned that Hudson and Allie quickly become fast friends after this rescue mission, and for the next 2 years, they become best friends. He obviously is crushing on her. He has feelings for her. While she may reciprocate, none of that is they never act on those feelings.
No, and it's never known that they feel that way.
Correct.
Until they're older.
Yes. So they had 2 solid years of becoming best friends, and then there's something that happens that we don't learn about until later, which we'll discuss, that pushes them apart. And so they have not seen each other for 11 years.
Yes.
And it pushes us to the present timeline, which is 11 years later. And it opens up with Allie, who is now this world-famous ballerina. She's at the top of her class, and she is performing a dance called Giselle, and we learn about an injury that she has. Let's talk about this scene.
Well, this was intense because you can feel the tension in this room as she's getting ready to perform Giselle. She keeps thinking of her mother.
Whom she wants to please.
Yes, she has to please. She's come back. She had injured herself, and there's some concern there. It was very angsty feeling.
It was.
And she dances, and she does it beautifully, and she poses. But friend, when she screams,
she gets distracted
because
she
thought she saw
Hudson.
Hudson. But when she screams because her Achilles,
and that it popped.
Girl.
I can't.
Yeah. No, can't with that. So she's severely injured. It jumps. She is back in this quaint little coastal town, kind of Cape Cod, Hampton-esque.
Yeah, her family owns a house, and her mom sets this rule that all the sisters have to return at some point every year.
Right, in order to keep the house. So she is there doing her rehab. Things just start to really unfold as to what's happened and what their relationship is.
Her whole recovery in front of her. There's this expectation of her to fully recover and return to the company in New York City.
Yes.
We've talked briefly about Allie's upbringing, but there was a lot of pressure amongst her family, especially from her mom, who was a ballet instructor and one of the top ballerinas in her generation as well. And so she's put this pressure on Allie and her sister to live up to the same expectations of her mother. She has a high stake in the company. She's very powerful. And there's just been this really strict upbringing for Allie and her sisters. Let's shift over to Hudson's present timeline. He's living in this coastal town mostly because his sister, Caroline, has lost her husband, and they have a daughter, Juniper. Caroline and her husband, who's now passed away, have this daughter, Juniper. And so Hudson and Gavin have promised Caroline and her deceased husband that they would stay close to help with Juniper and help with whatever Caroline needed assistance for that. Let's talk about Juniper and her desire to dance and just her excitement for ballet.
She's spunky.
She is spunky.
And she's
young too.
She's 10? got some gumption. Her ability to manipulate to get what she wants is scary. Scary, but admirable. She feels it so strongly inside of her that she is meant to dance. Like she was made for this. And her mom is adamant she cannot dance. Her mom, I have to say, I was not a fan of Caroline until pretty much the very end.
When you figure out the why behind it.
Yes, I had more grace for her in that. I didn't love her character, though. She paints that these ballerinas are all snobs, which granted, I guess if that's your experience with what you've they come into your family's diner that she now runs. She took over for her parents. I could understand where when people have shown you a certain personality trait for years, your entire life, I could understand you having a prejudice against them. But I feel like I don't know. She's just not really fair. I feel like I understand why later on, why she doesn't want Juniper to dance. But yeah, she's just kind of judgy a little bit.
You talked about Juniper's manipulation, and this presents an opportunity for her because she knows Hudson has a connection to Allie. As we mentioned, she's a world famous ballerina, and Juniper wants Hudson to introduce the two of them. We don't know at this moment what her reasoning behind that is, but she manipulates Hudson into, because like Hudson is ever going to tell his niece no for something that she wants. He's one of those really awesome uncles and does anything for her. So he reluctantly agrees. He didn't know Allie was back in town. He agrees to take Juniper to the house just as a possibility to meet her, not that he's guaranteeing she will be there. And Juniper really manipulates this scenario to get her there. And we learned that Allie is actually out in the water practicing holding her breath for long periods of time in the water. And Hudson thinks she's drowning. He's a coastal guard, so he's trained to spot people when they don't come up out of the water. He sees her down below in the water, panics, and goes to do a rescue. So this kind of sets the groundwork for their second meet cute when he tries to rescue Allie.
Yeah, she's not happy with him.
Oh, no, she's not.
I love this is such a woman thing that she's thinking that she's wearing her most unflattering bathing suit when she sees Hudson for the first time in over a decade. I'm like, yeah, because that's where your mind would be. But he's trying to help her. And then she explains, I'm exercising. This is what I'm doing. But he realizes she's kind of limping as she's walking it back to the house, fuming and furious that she has an injury. I love that Juniper just inserts herself into that. She did not wait. She came around the back of the house and really kind of blindsides Allie and starts laying in, friend, what did you think when she dropped the bombshell? You're my mom.
First of all, I panicked a bit because I thought, oh my gosh, if she is her mom, then Hudson surely is the dad. And how did we not see this coming? My second inclination was that Gavin was the dad.
That is what I thought the whole time.
Because they gave us the initial, because Gavin had a relationship with Lena. And so when they do this DNA test, I love that they did the DNA test right out the gate. So we get that
friend
just established right out of the beginning.
Let's just acknowledge the fact that a 10-year-old ordered a DNA test.
And then when Hudson questions her about it, it wasn't. It was just the difference between a couple of years on the internet.
I'm just like, which is terrifying because I'm like, you think about it, like if you buy alcohol, you can just scroll. Yeah. It's like, how do they know? They're not scanning your retina or something. I don't know. Anyway, impressive, scary, but impressive. So yeah, she just drops this bombshell. Of course, Allie's like, I'm not your mom. I've never had a baby.
So I knew right away it wasn't her.
I did too.
And then when they established, between Allie and Hudson that it was Lena, then that's when I started going on the Gavin train. Okay, Gavin is the dad.
The whole time.
Oh, 100%.
Which I was like, that would be so weird. I kept thinking, what if he doesn't know and he finds out his sister has been raising his daughter? What is going to happen?
Yeah, my mind was going all those trails.
I know. I was just like, oh, this can't happen. This can't happen because then I would want my daughter.
This is going to be very angsty.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, we'll talk about what really happens.
Nothing is hidden from Juniper because we also learned that the app on the DNA test also notifies her. So when they find out that there's a familial connection to the DNA and she processes it down to Lena, Juniper also comes to that same conclusion, which we learn that Lena has passed away. And so they're trying to brainstorm, how did this happen with nobody knowing and all of that? And how can they, since Allie is her aunt, how can they work together to change Caroline's mind about her perception of Allie and this family and the connection that they share?
I did not see the fake dating trope entering this situation.
Either. I did not either. I wasn't saddened by it. I actually enjoyed it immensely.
I wasn't opposed. One of the things that I loved the most about the story is that we find out, which, I mean, you kind of, if you read, you know, Hudson and Allie had feelings for each other. They just never acknowledged them. But I love past Hudson and Allie. I love that in the present, that Hudson thinks to himself, this is great. This is fantastic. I'm not holding back. I want this girl. I love this girl. I've always wanted this girl. And I'm not gonna be shy about it.
Which was an interesting twist on a fake dating trope.
I know. I love it when they don't fake it.
Yes.
I love it when they are just so, I'm going to get them to acknowledge their feelings. And this one was a delight for me because he was just so excited. He's like, I'm going to touch her every time I can. And
one of the biggest complaints that I have about the fake dating trope is that the feelings get muddied and they never know, are these genuine or is it because it's a ruse? So the fact that he up front tells her or makes the decision, I'm all in here. And then when they have their 5 minutes of realness every so often and she takes her walls down in those moments, I was here for it.
I love the 5 minutes thing that they do.
I do too.
Like when he sets the clock. I love that. It was just a fun little thing.
Especially the kiss in the shower.
Yeah, that was intense.
That was great. While they have this ruse going on through their fake dating relationship, they're having these family gatherings, bringing Allie around to the family just to kind of get Caroline used to her. She is not on board with Allie and Hudson being together. I love, though, initially that in one of the initial family meetings that they put a stop to the fact that they just met. And they bring to light the fact that Hudson and Allie were actually very close many years ago. Their relationship being friendship, many years ago. And Caroline is surprised by that, but it also kind of gives them a solid foundation for
making it believable.
Yes, making it believable. And so they're spending more time together. Caroline still just does not like Allie. She softens a little bit, but overall she still has this hardened perception of Allie and her family. And the whole time that they're putting this ruse on the side, Juniper is wanting to take ballet lessons. Allie is working on her recovery. There's a lot happening during this time. And at one of the family functions that also led me to believe that Gavin was the dad, Allie discovers something in Gavin's car that she's not sure how to process. And then it's later revealed that he's actually taking her to a ballet studio to get lessons out of town. Well, I love that Allie scopes this out because she knows all the competition. She knows all the studios, and it happens to be a studio that is not on the up and up. The instructor is very abusive emotionally, verbally to her students. It's just not a healthy environment, which is part of the reason why Caroline doesn't want her associated with this. And so once Allie discovers that, she takes on the responsibility of becoming Juniper's teacher. Let's talk about that.
Well, first of all, I have to say what I thought was going to be in Gavin's car was a picture of him and Lena. But I was surprised when it was ballet stuff. I was like, oh, that's a twist I didn't see. And I like that way better.
Yeah.
When Allie is observing, first of all, Hudson goes to catch her. And Allie is there with the ball cap and like, no, this is my...
Sit down, she'll see you.
Yeah. I love how she's like, this is my place. This is my area. You need to be quiet. Let me handle the situation. I love that she pointed out to her that she was too young to be in point shoes.
I didn't know any of that. I was on a learning journey of ballet, friends, and I loved it.
I'm telling you, it was that made me deep dive. I love also that she kind of like exposes that when he says something about, because she threw a water bottle and she said she learned that from my mother.
Whew. Woo! Yes.
Yeah. So that was very telling as to what Allie's upbringing was like. I love that she just immediately says, you're not going here anymore. I'm taking over your training and we'll do this at my house. And
because she's wanting to get a scholarship. There's a classical recital that she has the opportunity to be considered for a scholarship.
Right. And just a side note, what I love, and we find this out later, Allie went behind the scenes and reported this studio and had that, which rightfully so, because that's kind of terrifying. I was like, oh, I'm sure that happens in the world of ballet somewhere. There's some sketch dance studio, but I'd like to say overall it's probably not like that. But anyway, yeah, it was just really interesting to me.
And I love that in this summer home that Allie's family has, there's this whole studio
I know.
training session and all of that. So she takes on the role of Juniper's teacher. And I really love, because they're open about the fact that Lena is her mother. She talks about how Juniper's form and just her quick instincts to pick up ballet in general is very much in her DNA. She has received that from her mother and is very talented in that regard. And she really tries to develop something that she already is instinctually given in her DNA.
I thought it was really sweet how she moves her to the part of the bar that was her mom.
I love that too.
And tells her. I also love that their sister, not Eva, who we will kind of touch on, the younger, but Anne knew instantly, and they have that kind of relationship. And I love also that, like, it's like the three of them, well, really the four of them, they all kind of know that they're this family and that they want to know their niece. I just thought that was really sweet. And not in a way to, like, take her from Caroline.
Correct. They just want to be
But to have a relationship with her, I thought was really sweet.
I love the dynamic of the three of them together as well. And I just loved Anne's support of everything too. She was the sister who wanted all the data and the backup and the proof and things. So she was the researcher. She would go and try and find some things and bring them back, trying to find the birth certificate of Juniper or any kind of documentation. So once they discover that Lena is the mom, they start investigating how this was possible, that none of them knew about the pregnancy. They discover that their mother was in on the secret with Lena. There was a trip that they had found a picture of Lena and their mom together in New York City, and they're wearing coats in the middle of April or spring or whenever it was. And she was 7 months pregnant at that time. And so they quickly discovered that their mom was in on this secret, apparently. We'll come back to dig into that a little bit more. I want to shift over to Eva, the sister that was really annoying. She was a piece of work, right?
Amy.
Just in her pettiness, her annoying behavior, her love for being all things social media, manipulative. Let's talk about Eva.
I don't like her.
I didn't like her either.
I don't like her. She did things in this story that I thought, you are a horrible human being. You're just not a good person at all.
One of the main storylines throughout is that Allie's goal is to get back to the company because her choreographer has choreographed a dance specifically for Allie.
Right.
We get wind of the fact that he started working with one of the other ballerinas in the company on teaching her the moves and things like that. But the whole story, like the whole time that Allie is rehabbing, the goal in the end is for her to go back to the company so she can perform that piece.
Right.
When Eva comes to the beach house and they spend some time together, one of the things that Allie does, Eva asks her, will you teach me some of the moves or give me some pointers? She's an up-and-coming ballerina. She's not anywhere near where Allie's caliber is, but she's seeking help from Allie. And so Allie graciously agrees to do that. Meanwhile, she's still rehabbing. She's still not in perfect form. She still has a long way to go in her therapy and her rehab. Unbeknownst to everyone in the room, Eva's taking videos of all of this and capturing these little moments, which we later turn out is to be one of the biggest betrayals. Let's talk about Eva's betrayal.
I would expect that from somebody that is not related to you. But for those sisters to have been as close as they were with... Eva was just bratty, though. Through the whole thing, she was bratty. That's the only thing I could think to call her. I could think of other things, but that's the one I'm going to go with. But to know that she was posting on the social media and that she was instigating all of these little dirty comments that start at each chapter, that she's behind all that and that she's literally going behind her sister's back to try to get ahead. The cattiness of that what people are willing to do to achieve recognition and fame blows my mind. I will never understand that kind of behavior on any level, let alone coming from a sister. I'm like, if you want it that bad, take it.
Which she says that in the end when they confront about that. Allie says, if you had just opened up about that,
I would have given it.
Yeah, I would have gladly given it to you. It wasn't worth all this.
Yeah.
Well, we need to kind of backtrack because their family being Hudson's family goes on this camp out to some cabins. And I love this scene so much because it's an opportunity, one, for Hudson and Allie's real relationship to develop because they're away from everything. She's taking a break. But it's also a time for Juniper to kind of grow her relationship and for Caroline to see Allie in this light where she's starting to lighten up a bit. And it's because of this cabin scene where they're building this relationship, Hudson and Allie, on a little bit more of a genuine level. There's not really so much of the fake part in the one bed trope, which I found delightful. He asks her to stay a few extra days. Yeah. And she agrees, I want to say a little bit reluctantly. She was in the moment very happy, but then when they get back to town, this is when it's revealed this major betrayal. Right. That Eva has now been cast in this dance that was written for Allie. And the betrayal is huge. And Allie starts blaming the fact that she stayed with Hudson and starts to put some distance there.
I was so disappointed in her for blaming that scenario and just thinking to herself, I should have been here, I should have been training, I should have been doing this, I should have been doing that. I just didn't. I guess if you're walking through it in real life, I always try to tell myself, if this was a real life circumstance, how would you really? I could understand that being your knee-jerk reaction to, you're the one that asked me to stay, and just being so angry that you need to cast blame.
She does, in the end, blame herself.
She does.
For agreeing to stay.
She does, but the fact that she just completely cuts him out, I just did not like that. But we wouldn't have a story if everything was neat. And, real life is messy. And anyway, it just made me sad.
Yeah, I agree. And here Hudson is on the other side. He's just wanting any peace, any time that she's willing to give. And that was, he repeatedly tells her that I will take however much of you're willing to give. And that one made me very sad for Hudson, that he was willing to settle for
a crumb
piece. Yeah, just a little piece of whatever she was willing to give. And I get it, because ballet is her life. In that regard, I understand that she's competitive and this is her life. And to make room for something else is very difficult when you're in that professional competitiveness. So on that side, I understood, but it made me sad for Hudson that he would be willing to settle for just pieces.
This is where I differ so much from the characters that we read from, because I sit there and I think to myself, I'm such a romantic that I cannot think of anything. At the end of the day, if I don't have Dustin, like, he is like, I have goals and I have dreams and I have desires of things that I want to accomplish, but I'm like, if I can't be with the person I love, if I don't know that I love anything as much as what I have with him. So I'm so different from these characters. I guess I just don't have that drive and ambition in certain areas. It's like, I want to achieve things, but I want to figure out how I can achieve those while I have this important relationship.
And that's how he viewed their relationship. Right. He was willing to, we learned that he was willing to transfer to New York for her. He was willing to put his dream of going to Alaska on hold if it meant being in a relationship with her. Right. And so they obviously were on different levels in their relationship through the whole story. It took them a long time to finally get there. And that's part of the tension and the angst of the story. I get that. We're to the point where we're at the classical recital, and this is where Juniper's going to do her performance. I found it very sleuthful that they got Caroline there on the precipice, that Allie is coming back to dance this surprise dance. No, but she's not on the program. It's a surprise. And this whole scene is delightful in a lot of ways. Yeah. Let's focus first on Eva and Allie, and then we'll shift over into the big reveal of Caroline and Juniper.
Okay, well, first, before we focus on that, I have to say there was two funny things in this. Is one, when she asked Gavin why he has a bouquet of flowers for, it's like, doesn't she have enough? Isn't that weird that you're giving your brother's girlfriend flowers? That was funny. That was funny. Second one was after Allie dances, she's like, okay, you ready to go? Let's go. Why do we need to stay? We're here for Allie. We saw Allie. Let's go. Yeah. So those were two moments that made me laugh. I love that Eva, I don't think I am. Maybe I am. I might have a little bit. I think I'm discovering it in this very moment. That
Vindictive,
like, stick it to a man, kind of thing. Like, because I loved Eva's face when she saw Allie get up there and dance the dance that was written for her in front of the people who are like over the ballet where they're at. Oh, it was just the best. I was
Because
like,
by
yes!
doing that, she now makes it where Eva can't.
And
it was filmed.
It was filmed and
streamed.
people know that Eva has been lying. It really turned the public. This is where it goes back to Eva's brattiness, though. Is she attacks Allie after a just verbal attack of, I can't believe you did that. How could you do this to me? And I'm thinking, sweet child, first of all, you started this war.
Yes.
And it just, I thought, you can't even, anyway,
Yes.
it was just the worst. Also, she's like 25.
Yeah.
Grow up. Anyway, okay, that's enough. Let's discuss something else.
When it is revealed that Juniper is actually dancing in this, Caroline has a major set of panic here and anxiety because this is where the whole truth is revealed of why Carolyn has been adamant that Juniper not be allowed to dance. And it's in this moment that she reveals she's terrified that someone's going to take Juniper away. Mm-hmm. We learn that in the stipulations of her adoption, which is a closed adoption, by the way, that one, she could not seek out her birth parents until she was 18 years old. And two, she was under no circumstances allowed to dance. And she signed an NDA. So this is like major fireworks happening here.
Yeah. How did you feel about all this? Did you see this coming?
I did not. I did not see this coming. This completely caught me off guard. I was not expecting that. My mind is starting to turn over the reasons why, and I could not fathom what had transpired to make these circumstances go into effect. I knew that her mother probably played a part in that just because she knew of the pregnancy, but I couldn't understand why. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand why.
Yeah, and we know that Gavin is not the dad. We had found that out because Hudson had done a DNA test, and he is not in any way related. So they knew immediately, early on, like he's not. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting, like what's going on.
And they fabricated that one of the dancers, who was a gay dancer, that agreed to sign the paperwork and be the father on the birth certificate. So there was all that manipulation too.
Yes.
So it was not until much further in the story, when things are starting to come to light, that I even considered the possibility that it was somebody in the company trying to hide something.
Okay, when Allie realizes it, I still didn't know.
Same.
I was trying to figure it out. I thought, okay, who is it? Mm-hmm. Who is it? We don't find that out until they go to this boating...
This cruise
celebration. Mm-hmm. So she knows she's going to confront this when she goes to sign her contract, but it's the guy that runs their company. Is that what he is?
Yes.
His position? Runs their company.
He makes all the decisions over who's the principals, who gets, the upgrades, who moves up in the company.
So this was interesting because Lena was initially rejected from this school.
Yes. Did you find that shocking?
I was shocked. I was like,
too.
Man, the level that she would go to obtain a place. So she has a relationship. She gets into a ballet company in San Francisco, and that's kind of where her pregnancy, I guess, played out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had a relationship with a guy that runs the company, which ick, first of all. Yeah. She's like 18. Gross.
Yeah.
But her mom knows, and they use this to hang over his head to get her into the company.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of manipulation happening here, which then has a lot of cover-up. He's no interest in being a father. And Allie leverages that by having him sign an NDA and signing over the rights as a father. I loved the fact that Allie did not disclose who the daughter was or who the child was.
Good on Anne.
Yes.
Using her lawyer background.
Because that, I don't know if that would have influenced his decision to sign the rights away, but I'm really thankful that she did that and gave Juniper the option if she wanted to see, although she does over here, and it kind of ruins the fact that she could seek that out later. But I love just how Allie handled that and used her contract negotiation to leverage the freedom for Juniper and relief for Caroline's mind.
Yes,
that no one could take her away.
The way that all played out, the way that Allie is just, I'll fix this. I'll take care of it. I'll fix this, to give Carolyn peace and Hudson and all them. It was just a really intense amount of stuff happening.
Yes, I agree.
And then Eva and all of that trying to still weasel her way into
And one of the scenes that really just kind of put the nail in the coffin, in my opinion, is when Allie goes to confront her mom. Let's talk about that scene.
Yeah.
And the big revelation of her mom that blew my mind.
So, okay, I was sitting there thinking at first, she goes to confront her mom. Her mom's always like, fifth, like stern voice. And
But they've set her up to be very abrasive.
Yes. So at
She
first,
doesn't like to be disturbed.
No.
She's just very abrasive.
yeah. So she's communicating and she's asking questions. She's like yes or no answers. She's struggling with her words. Now, at first I thought, what is happening? Is she so enraged that she's
That's where my mind was.
a panic attack almost? And then the further it got into it, I thought, something is wrong with her mom. She can't communicate. She's had like a stroke or something. And friend, her mom has frontal...
Temporal dementia?
Yes.
Primary progressive aphasia.
Aphasia. Mind blown.
Mind blown.
For the last 2 years.
Yes.
She's been in a facility. It explains so much.
And everybody is under the impression she's off teaching somewhere.
Yes, and they kind of, like, the way Rebecca wrote this, you feel like it is because, like, she's busy. So I just thought it was, like, her assistant.
Same.
I did not see that. My mind was
I did
blown.
not. Yes, I did not
In
see
the
this
best
coming.
way
Yes.
that I didn't see that coming at all.
Hudson is really trying to have a relationship with Allie, and he knows that there's a piece of truth that through this whole story he's been keeping from her that he really needs to bring to light. He's concerned with how she's going to react to that, but he does have plans to have that conversation with her. However, before he has the opportunity to do that, Gavin sort of spills the beans about how he's doing everything for her, and the night of the car accident with Lena, it is brought to Allie's attention that he was covered in blood, and it wasn't his. So she starts to learn things preemptively. So when she confronts Hudson about this is where the whole car wreck truth comes to light, and she doesn't have memories much of the accident. She has some trauma from that. Her recollection is that Lena was getting out of the car and she gives her a ring, and then she goes back to the car, when in reality we learn a completely different story. Let's talk about the scene and the big reveal.
Yes, this was a revelation, was mind-blowing as well. And we haven't really mentioned before, but Lena died in a car wreck that they had. So they have just left a recital that he was at. They finally confront each other with the feelings that they've had. Allie's going to choose him over ballet. They are going to her mom to tell her Lena and Allie are in a vehicle together to kind of go over what they're going to say. And Hudson is falling behind. When they kind of take a curve too fast, it crashes. Lena is in the car, and Hudson goes and saves Allie.
Yes.
And puts her on the side of the road. But by the time he tries to go back to Lena, the car is on fire.
One of the things that really changes Allie's perception of the accident was the fact that Lena was trapped in the car and never got out. And part of Hudson's feelings of withholding this information from her because he was afraid of how she would feel was the fact that he chose to save Allie over Lena. And all this time, Allie has felt responsible for Lena's death.
Right. So when he goes to the hospital, Allie's mother is livid with him that he did not save Lena, blames him, and says that Allie will never forgive him. He goes to leave. Gavin picks him up, which was interesting too, because Gavin didn't speak to Hudson for well over a month after this, because he kind of felt he blamed Hudson for not saving Lena, but they had a whole conversation that they hashed out, and he said, would you not have done the same?
Yeah.
If the roles were reversed, you would have saved Lena.
Yeah.
Not Allie. All the truth bombs are dropping, and she finally finds out, and her memories are getting back in the order that they are supposed to be. That was one of the things she harbored so much pain and hurt, because she felt like Hudson completely left her and was not there for it all. But in reality, he had been at the hospital. He was the one that saved her life. But she has never known all these years. So upon confronting her mom, this is one of the things that is addressed as well.
Yes.
And then also it kind of sets up a huge fight between her and Hudson. She has to kind of have time to think. And they kind of go their separate ways
They
for
do. Yeah.
a little
She
bit
goes
longer
back
than
to-
what I was comfortable with.
She went back to New York City for the company, and he's to the point his relocation assignment is due. His first choice was New York City, but he didn't get it. And so you're wondering, okay, is he going to stay in this little small town coastal city to support Caroline, or where is he going to go? And we learned that he actually moved to Alaska.
Yeah. I called in a favor, I think.
Yes.
Which I thought the favor was going to be, he was going to be in New York, because he shows up at New York, sees her, sees she's happy.
Yep.
Goes back home, and then decides to do his own thing. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
So I thought he went to New York regardless.
Same.
That's what I had in my head. He's
did
in New
too.
York. He's just giving her space.
Let's talk about Allie's grand gesture.
This was crazy. Allie realizes she is not happy in New York anymore, and she's ready to move on. She packs up all her things, goes back to the coastal town, only to realize Hudson has moved.
Yeah.
So she travels all the way to Alaska. It takes her a week to get there. Has been sitting out on his porch. He comes home, realizes she's there. And I love that they finally have this moment of, he's like, you can't sacrifice your dreams, all this. And she says, I'm not. I'm freelance now. So I'm going to dance when I want to dance.
And he was planning to fly to New York City to watch her performance the next day.
I know. I love that he tells
I
her
love
that
him
too.
so much in that moment.
Yeah. So they're just going to make it work. And I love that we see that he had his dream of Alaska for a little bit, but then they go here and they go there, and that she gets to dance when she wants to dance, and
It was
he
a
gets to
perfect
do his.
wrap-up.
I know, and see, this is the thing. I was like, that's what love is about. It's about compromise.
Uh-huh.
Nobody has to compromise what their goals and their dreams are. You just have to
Find a way to make
shift
it work.
to
Yes.
make it work for you. So I was very happy.
I was
My
too.
romantic heart was happy in this
Same.
moment. And I also love that we saw the romantic gesture from the female, because I feel like it's always kind of the male that's doing those things. And I love it when we see a woman do that.
Yes,
it's
me
very,
too.
I don't know. It just puts a
Unconventional,
spin.
but I love. Yeah, it's a different point of view, which I like, because it's not what you would expect.
I know. I love it. Well, that concludes our discussion of variation. We hope you enjoyed this episode and you want to continue the discussion with us. You can hit us up on Instagram at Postbook Depression Podcast, or on Facebook at our Postbook Depression discussion page. You can also email us at postbookdepressionpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, keep reading.